Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Offering our salutations to Bhagavan Ramana, who shines as the self in every being, we begin today's Saturday Satsang with a prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh. This will be followed by the chanting of the Muktaka trayam by Nandakumarji.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय. Namo Ramana to everyone.
एकम् अक्षरं हृदि निरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता आत्मनिष्ठो देहं मृण्मयः जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तभावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भा ओहं भावयुतः कुतो रघिया दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं नमो
Now we have the chanting of Upadesa Saram by Srimati Ashwini Balaji and Kumari Uma Shripati.
नमो रमण इदमहं पदाभिक्यमन्वहम् अहमिलीनके प्रलय सत्तया विग्रहेन्द्रिया प्राणधीतमा नाहमेकसत्तज्जडं यसत् सत्त्वभासिका चित्क्ववेतरा सत्तया हि चित् चित्तया ह्यहम् ईश जीवयोर्वेषधीभिद सत्स्वभावतो वस्तु केवलम् वेषहानता स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मरूपत आत्मसंस्थिति स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनिर्द्वयादात्मनिष्ठता ज्ञानवर्जिता अज्ञानहीन चेत् ज्ञानमस्ति किम् ज्ञातुमन्तरम् किं स्वरूपम् इत्यात्मदर्शने अव्यया भवा अपूर्णचित्सुखम् बन्धमुक्त्यतीतं परं सुखम् विन्दतीह जीवस्तुदैविका अहमपेतकम् निजविभानकम् महदिदं तपो रमणवागियम् नमो रमण
In this part of the satsang, we have the offering of Ramananjali Sangeetam. This will be done by, the first offering will be by Srimati V. Radha and Chiranjeevi Vallabh Srinivasan. Then we'll have one more offering of Ramananjali Sangeetam by Savitri Krishnan and Jaisriram Krishnan, followed by an offering by Revathi Shankar.
Namo Ramana to all. Today we'll be presenting a song written by Sri Muruganaraswamy and the music is by Srimati Sulochana Natarajan. Potri 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 Ramana nama potriye potri 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 Ramana nama potriye potri 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 anudinamum potriye potri 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 anudinamum potriye Ramana nama potriye anudinamum potriye Ramana nama potriye anudinamum potriye potriye Ramana, Ramana, Ramana. அன்று போல் இன்று நன்கு அருள்வோன் போற்றியே அன்று போல் இன்று நன்கு அருள்வோன் போற்றியே அருமை சீர் என்னுயிர் அம்மான் போற்றியே அருமை சீர் என்னுயிர் அம்மான் போற்றியே அருள்வோன் போற்றியே அம்மான் போற்றியே அருள்வோன் போற்றியே அம்மாள் போற்றியே ரமண நாமம் போற்றியே அனுதினமும் போற்றியே ரமண நாமம் போற்றியே அனுதினமும் போற்றியே போற்றியே Ramana, Ramana, Ramana. நளிக்கடல் போல குளிர்கண்ணோக்கால், நளிக்கடல் போல குளிர்கண்ணோக்கால், ஒளிப்படர் ஞானம் உதவுவோன் போற்றியே, ஒளிப்படர் ஞானம் உதவுவோன் போற்றியே, குளிர்கண்ணோக்கால் உதவுவோன் போற்றியே, குளிர்கண்ணோக்கால் உதவுவோன் போற்றியே, ரமண நாமம் போற்றியே அனுதினமும் போற்றியே, ரமண நாமம் போற்றியே அனுதினமும் போற்றியே போற்றியே. ரமணா 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 போற்றி. ரமணா 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 ரமணா. நமோ ரமணா.
ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. பதித்திடு ஆன்மாவில் மனதென்று படிப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, அதுதான் குரு சொல் போட்டலறி என்று அருள்வோன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. பாத பாப மப மக சமிதம பதம மகரிச, யோகி பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ஞானி பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. கரி கரி கம பத பம மப பம கரி ச பமப, ஈதல் வேண்டாம் எதுவும் எமக்கென்று இசைப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. பதநீத பத மாத பப மம மக பமப, வேத நீங்கில் போதும் என்று புகழ்வோன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. கனித பமத கரிச சனித தனி சனிச நீதத மாமா பத நீத நிசா கரிச நிரி சனித சனி தனிசா, குற்றம் செய்யும் குணமா கொள்ளும் புறவோன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, நற்றவமில்லா நாயேன் தனையாள் ஞானி பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. சசனித பமக கரி கம பாப சரி கரி சனித பத பமத பனித சனி சசா சனித பம பத மகரி மபதனிமா, இனப்போல் நண்பர் இதய மலர்த்தும் இனியோ பாதம் வாழ்கவே, அணியார் அருணாச்சலத்தில் வாழும் அமலன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. செய்யினும் இனிய செய்யும் இறைவன் பாதம் வாழவே கண்ணேர் நெஞ்சும் கனிய செய்யும் கர்த்தன் பாதம் வாழவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழவே நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ 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 ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ நமோ மொழியா மொழியே மொழி மூலவனே முனி ரமணாய நமோ நமோ மோன ஞான முரளி கிங்கிரி மோகனாய நமோ நமோ மௌன குருவே மானிடமேந்திய சகுண குருவே நமோ நமோ யதிநாயகனே விதிநாயகனே கதிதாயகனே நமோ நமோ யார் நான் இன்னும் ரமண மகார்த்த போர்மானொழியே நமோ நமோ யுக்தி கெட்ட துள்ளிரும் தொழிலும் போதீஷாய நமோ 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 ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ 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 ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ ரமணாய நமோ நமோ ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீ ரமணாய.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Bhagavan Ramana is a compassion-filled one who lives in Arunachala. And by just chanting his names from the Sahasranamam and from the Ashtottaram, we feel so peaceful and we feel so happy just by chanting his name. He removes all the distress from our lives. His name alone has the strength to destroy all the emotional hurdles in our life. And when we see his form, such a beautiful form, we melt, and his form is filled in our eyes all the time. Such is his form and such is his name. He is the bright one. He is the golden complexion one. And he brings peace in our mind and in our heart. He just removes the ego which is there in the heart and gives that peace which is always shining bright within our heart. He has the power, and he has given us the power to destroy that ego by just questioning, who am I? And that destroys all the thoughts and gets us back into that source. And that when we get into that source, we dance and sing in ecstasy. And Bhagavan loves that state of bliss which he gives us. Bhagavan's life, if we see, he sees everybody equally and he gives equal happiness to everybody by asking us to get back to the source. And that is the only happiness which is there all the time and everywhere. It may be a monkey, it may be a dog, it may be a peacock, it may be a scholar. For everyone, the source is the same, says Bhagavan. And in this song, Vaibhavji Venkateshwara has said, Bhagavan protects his devotees all the time. This is a Kannada translation of Vaibhavji Venkateshwara Rao's song. The Kannada translation is by R.N. Jayagopal. Music is by Vijay Bhaskar. Swami Ramana, 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 Arunachala Vasiyane, ಕರುಣಾ ಸಮುದ್ರ ನೀಯನೇ ಸಾವಿರ ಹೆಸರಲಿ ನಿನ್ನನು ಭಜಿಸೆ ಮನಸ್ಸು ತುಂಬಿ ಬರುತ್ತಿಹುದಯ್ಯ ರಮಣ ಕಣ್ಣು ತುಂಬ ನಿನ್ನ ಕಾಂತಿಯು ರಮಣ ಅರುಣಾಚಲ ವಾಸಿಯನೇ ಕರುಣಾ ಸಮುದ್ರ ನೀಯನೇ ಸಾವಿರ ಹೆಸರಲಿ ನಿನ್ನನು ಭಜಿಸೆ ಮನಸ್ಸು ತುಂಬಿ ಬರುತ್ತಿಹುದಯ್ಯ ರಮಣ ಕಣ್ಣು ತುಂಬ ನಿನ್ನ ಕಾಂತಿಯು ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣ ತೇಜೋಮಯ ಮೂರ್ತಿಯು ನೀ ವಿಶ್ವಶಾಂತಿ ದಾತನು ನೀ ಅಧ ವಿನಾಶಕ ನೀನೇ ಗರ್ವ ಸಂಹಾರ ಶಕ್ತಿಯು ನೀ ತೇಜೋಮಯ ಮೂರ್ತಿಯು ನೀ ವಿಶ್ವಶಾಂತಿ ದಾತನು ನೀ ಅಘ ವಿನಾಶಕ ನೀನೇ ಗರ್ವ ಸಂಹಾರ ಶಕ್ತಿಯು ನೀ ಭಜಿಸಿದಷ್ಟು ಒಲಿವೆ ನೀನು ರಮಣ ಹೃದಯವನ್ನು ಬೆಳಗೋ ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣ ಸಹಜವಾದ ಮಾತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮತೆ ತೋರೋ ಕೈಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕರುಣೆ ತುಂಬಿದ ನೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಂದಸ್ಮಿತ ಆವದನದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹಜವಾದ ಮಾತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮತೆ ತೋರೋ ಕೈಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕರುಣೆ ತುಂಬಿದ ನೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಂದಸ್ಮಿತ ಆವದನದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನು ಗೆಲಿದು ನಿಂತೆ ರಮಣ ಭಕ್ತರನ್ನು ಪೊರೆಯೋ ರಮಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ 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 ರಮಣ ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. We move to the next part of the satsang, which is a reading and sharing session by Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of our satsang, we continue our readings from Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, The Resplendent Sun, Angles of Vision by Shri A.R. Natarajanji, our founder president. We had seen that this book contains many articles by many great ones of that era, but they are all angles of vision. And there is this central contribution by our founder president, A.R. Natarajanji, called The Practical Guide on the Ramana Way to Know Himself, so that there is a complete look at Bhagavan's teachings in at least one of the articles, so that there is a completeness to the whole work. We have been reading this for the last 2 weeks, and the author has taken us through how we have the crowded mind and how the attention to the subject I is the key to the state where Bhagavan asks us to be, our natural state of silence. I read the last paragraph from last week and then we proceed. When one pays attention to the subject I, using these twin weapons, that is, who am I and whence am I, using these two twin weapons, one acquires the capacity to be alert against thought intrusion. One notices quickly, if not immediately, the straying of attention away from the thinker. The warding off of thoughts is a preliminary necessity. When it is followed by sustained attention on the I, the mind becomes interned and quiet. We continue the reading. On the threshold, being still. On the threshold, being still. It is important to remember that once the mind is interned by attention to the subject, then one should switch over from the intensive positive attitude which sustains such attention to complete passivity. Being still is what is needed. Along the way, the repeated merging of the mind into the heart itself acts as a spur for further effort. For what one has experienced and knows to be the truth can neither be denied nor forgotten. That's a Bhagavan's quote. The mind partakes more and more of consciousness till it gradually acquires the capacity to stay steadily at the source. Then the mind becomes quiet. The mind becomes silent. Mind, as we know it, would be dead. The externalizing of the mind and its swinging between action and laziness would end. Instead, it would be internalized, pure, and uncontaminated by thought. It would then reflect consciousness without distortion. Thoughts will arise when needed and subside. Action would be complete and perfect. It is a state of wakeful sleep, for one is free of thoughts as in sleep and alertly active as one awake. I'll read that again. It is a state of wakeful sleep, for one is free of thoughts as in sleep and alertly active as one awake. When one becomes self-aware, joy inundates as a ceaseless throb in the heart. Many, due to lack of experience of that state, are worried about being free of thoughts. It may be made clear again that the functions of the mind, memory, reasoning, inference, etc. would be very much there, and that too with heightened powers due to absence of distractions. The examples of the liberated ones of the past who were abiding in that state of silence should also help in getting rid of this. Ramana himself is an example of this, for he did whatever he did with an infectious enthusiasm for the cutting of vegetables, from the cutting of vegetables to the clarifying of innumerable doubts of the seekers of truth. Supplementary practice. One has also to consider what would be the supplementary practices to help quicken the process. Ramana recommends watching the breath with the mind. Such attention, if constant, has the immediate effect of quietening the mind. For both the mind and breath originate from the heart. As the mind gathers enough strength to stay with the eye, breath regulation by watching the breath would serve the purpose of a brake for a car or reins for a horse. However, Ramana does not recommend it as an exclusive method, for breath regulation may have the effect of lulling the mind. The danger of the mind being lulled into sleep is quite on the cards, for the mind is either active and full of thoughts or asleep when it is without thoughts. However, what is needed is conscious effort to turn the mind within and make it stay inward till it is merged in its source. That is the supplementary practice of pranayama. Ramana's guidance and support. The author comes to the Guru's guidance and support. Where does the grace of Sadguru, the grace of the Sadguru come in? Is it all a matter of individual's effort only? Quite certainly no. By Ramana's grace alone, one is attracted to the direct path of self-enquiry incessantly stressed by him. In this path, there is nothing to occupy the mind, no rituals, no scope for philosophical dialectics, no unsaid or hidden nuances. It is all an open book. The mind revels in complications. To opt for a way which does not provide for avenues of relish to the mind cannot happen except by his grace. Also, in the inner journey, grace is very much in operation. Effort can be made only up to a point when inwardness is established. Thereafter, it is Ramana's grace which swallows one alive and opens up a new dimension of living. It is Ramana's guidance from within that sustains in many dead-end situations and enables one to overcome listlessness and loss of interest. Grace is, he quotes Bhagavan, grace is thus the beginning and the end. Introversion is due to grace. Perseverance is grace. And realization is grace. I'll read that. Introversion is due to grace. Perseverance is grace. And realization is grace. Ramana also would advise that one should proceed with spiritual practice in the confidence of its assured success. Others have succeeded. Why not you? Why stultify yourself by anticipating failure? That again is a quote from Bhagavan. He would say that spiritual unfoldment is only a matter of discovering what is already there. The spiritual heart and the natural state of silence. They are already there. You are not going to bring them into existence. Since this state is one's own and not given, one is sure to become aware of it when diligent practice and the Sadguru's grace interact. Many think that abandoning of wife and children, giving up of jobs, renouncing of the world and the likes are preconditions for attaining the goal. Where is the time for spiritual practice in busy workaday life? It is a full-time task and duties leave no time for it. Ramana would never encourage such false logic, for the world is in the mind. What needs to be tackled is the mind which one cannot leave behind. One can always make self-enquiry an undercurrent. It is all a matter of proper use of the meditation time and of idle time. Ramana would say that one who wishes to bathe in the sea cannot say he would prefer to wait till the waves subside. Can such a person have a sea bath at all? He has to resolve to bathe in it as it is. He has to learn by himself or by proper instruction to duck under each wave till he acquires the skill to duck at a stretch, wave after wave. When the restless ocean holds no fear for him, he knows how to handle it. Then the restless ocean holds no fear for him, for he knows how to handle it, how to duck the wave after wave of challenge, free of any reaction. This problem of duties and worries of the world can also be handled by learning to leave things to the care of the Sadguru. The surrender is also offered as the second wave in which we can duck underneath the waves of samsara. This problem of duties and worries of the world can also be handled by learning to leave things to the care of the Sadguru. As one progresses in self-enquiry, faith in the omniscience and omnipotence of Ramana grows. I'll repeat that. It can be repeated any number of times. As one progresses in self-enquiry, faith in the omniscience and omnipotence of Ramana grows. One begins by giving Ramana a particular power of attorney when things go out of hand, and then a general power of attorney as the trust becomes complete. Initially, we learn to surrender when we are in trouble. We are not able to do something about it. But then that is special power of attorney, says the author. But then why differentiate between small task, great task, impossible task? All are done by him only. So surrender becomes the general power of attorney. Trust becomes complete. But one has to be clear about the implications of surrender. One has to unquestioningly accept the unfolding of events in the knowledge and certainty that Ramana knows best. Who else but the omniscient would know the best? Such confidence is never misplaced, for he takes over completely the responsibility of guiding one along. The burden is Ramana's, and he can well shoulder it. More instructions and freedom. What was Ramana's way of communicating his teachings? For many years, when he was staying in the caves of Arunachala, he would hardly speak. There was no need. In the immensity of the silence in his presence, the seeker's doubts would be clarified. Even in later years, the silence was so compelling that there would be the necessary response in the seeker's mind. However, there were always occasions when Ramana would clarify by cryptic and direct answers. But before doing so, he would generally give a piercing look of grace which enabled the questioner to grasp the full implication of the message. One could say, it is said that Arjuna was given such look by Krishna, Bhagavan says, because in that confused mind, the instruction cannot go in. So first, the mind is quietened by grace of Guru, then the Upadesha is given. One could say that even now, when he is not in the body, the power of the look has not diminished. One can feel it and benefit from his speaking eyes in his photographs. The light which radiates from those eyes stills the mind and helps in resolving the problems during practice. This is an anubhava of the author, which he says can be taken by everyone. Every devotee can still their mind by looking at Bhagavan. The light which radiates from those eyes stills the mind and helps in resolving the problems during practice. Ramana would also emphasize the need for remembering the inner presence of the Guru. From the age of innocence, he had himself received the guidance of Arunachala, the sacred hill, regarded as the embodiment of Lord Shiva. The Arunachala Nama was going on in Bhagavan, and the author very nicely puts it that Bhagavan was always receiving guidance from Arunachala. Likewise, as the inner Guru, Ramana's guidance is open to all who can turn within and be sensitive to his presence. That's why he says, be sensitive to the inner Guru and be guided by him. As one reaps the benefits, the joy of the path, one often ponders how the enormous debt due to Ramana can be repaid. He is the fullness of consciousness. What can one give him? It is only to be restored to that natural state of joy in which he is reveling. I'll repeat that paragraph. As one reaps the benefits, the joy of the path, one often ponders how the enormous debt due to Ramana can be repaid. He is the fullness of consciousness. What can one give him? It is only to be restored to that natural state of joy in which Bhagavan is reveling. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We move on to the next part of the satsang, which is the self-enquiry session led by Dileep Simha ji.
ध्यायेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्ररविन्देक्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणेश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाभ्यासितम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षादात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामच्युतव पवनचलनरोधात् आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। Namo Ramana. We will commence the Atma Vicharam by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. I will be reading his Upadesham from the book Guruvachaka Kovai, from the chapter Experience of the Truth, and the topic is formlessness. Verse 1104. Only those who subside in the heart with full awareness will attain the state of truth, that is free from falsity, fear, and sorrow. The rest will not attain it because, for them, the truth remains veiled for the mind in the sleep and waking states by forgetfulness, and forgetfulness is said to be called as avarana, and thoughts, vikshepa, respectively. So here, Bhagavan is saying what happens really for all of us, that though we are supposed to be in full state of awareness of oneself and be free from the fear, free from the falsity, and free from the sorrow, but since we are not in that full state of awareness of ourselves, we continuously experience this fear, falsity, and sorrow again and again. So Bhagavan is saying that is what happens when we don't remain in our full state. And further he goes on to say that this happens because of two things which we need to be worried about, or we need to be aware of with full awareness. What it is not, one is on the one side that we are not in the full steady abidance of the self, and other is due to the avarana and the vikshepa. The avarana is the veiling of the truth, the covering of the truth, and the vikshepa is all because of the thought. Now, how Bhagavan has given us Atma Vichara as a one solution for the whole of this, we can see here. He He says, whenever the vikshepa happens, the thoughts rise, then by inquiring to whom is this, he makes us know that of the avarana, the ego I. So the answer to whom is this will reveal it is for me, the I, this Dileep. It is happening to me. Immediately he asks us not to stay there, asks us to inquire who am I, and takes the awareness from the veiled state of attending to the limitation as ego or the I to the source, taking it fully back into the self. And therefore, by doing it, the falsity, the the fear and the sorrow that would have come to us by attending to the thought is then and there removed and made us to establish in that full state of self with full awareness, and that alone is the way to realize or to be in one's attain that state of truth, says Bhagavan here. So Atma Vichara is freeing us from all the sorrow, freeing us from all the fear, freeing us from all the falsity, and not only that, it is removing the avarana and the vikshepa and bestowing by the inquiry, who am I, to the truth, the only truth. And the state of truth is brought to us by the inquiry. And therefore, this Atma Vichara is such a wonderful blessing, a packaged solution for us to here and now free ourselves from all the duality and abide in that natural state of ours here and now. The immense grace of Bhagavan, for the next 10 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. Let us overcome all the avarana by the inquiring to whom is this, and all the vikshepa by inquiring to whom is this, and by recognizing me, all of this is for I, then further inquiring who am I, let us transcend even that veiled state of ours into that truth that we are here and now through the inquiry who am I. So with the immense grace of Bhagavan, for the next 10 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Holding on to the self, we continue the satsang with a sharing by Venkatesh Deshpande ji.
Is it me or Kalarani?
Kalarani ji is not yet here, so you can start.
No problem. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo, Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave. Dhyanamoolam, Gurur Murti, Pujamulam, Gurur Padam. Mantramulam Vakyam Mokshamulam Guru Kripaha. Mokshamulam Guru Kripaha. Namo Ramana. We are doing Manana on Atma Bodha. The last satsang we did Manana on the verse 16. We'll do a quick recap. One should, through discriminative thinking, separate the pure innermost self from the enveloping sheets, as one separates the rice from the chaff by thrashing it with a pestle. The previous verse points out how the pure self appears tainted because of its association with the five material layers. You can regain your infinite nature of the self by drawing your identification with these matter layers. This process is indicated by the metaphor of thrashing the paddy and separating the rice from its coverings. So rice has two coverings, we know that. One is the bran and the other is the husk. To remove them, the paddy is first pounded using a pestle and mortar and then sieved for separating the rice. The pounding of paddy suggests a comparison to the hard and grueling experiences in the world which makes you more mature and introvert in life. Thus, gradually you detach yourself from the gross physical body and the external world. When your mind turns introvert, you take to discrimination, self analysis, and meditation. You recognize the pure self beyond the layers of matter. Says a fruit is the product of a tree. It is a result, the effect produced. Similarly, the result or product of all your past activities, karmas, is your present vasanas or desires. When vasanas or desires are removed from you, you gain the godhood. It says beautifully, man minus the vasanas, desires is equal to God. Both fruit and vasanas are similar in the sense they are the end products. A fruit is chosen to represent your vasanas. When you offer a fruit to the Lord, It signifies offering of your vasanas or desires and thereby unfolding your inner self. Your visit to temple therefore symbolizes exhaustion of your vasanas and desires and realization of yourself. The very important thing in the religious realm, because typically people do not understand why it says why do we offer actually the fruits, the coconuts, the bananas, flowers, why do we offer? It says beautifully, when you offer a fruit to the Lord, it signifies offering of your vasanas or desires and thereby unfolding your inner self. That is the higher purpose of the offering. Then he says, then when you go to a temple or guru, you leave all your worldly desires and attachment except those that are necessary to you for your spiritual evolution. These few desires are left in you solely for your spiritual pursuit and are symbolized by the small tuft on the coir. The coconut has a little tuft. When that is removed, it is, and then what happens says the exposure of the three spots on the shell indicates the opening of the third eye and called the eye of wisdom, Jnana Chakshu. This eye is it's a philosophical concept. But beautifully he says that the eye of wisdom gives you the vision of the supreme self. So that was what we did manana the last satsang. Now we will continue to do manana on the verse number 17, and I request Sapna to kindly chant the verse, please.
Yes, sir. सदा सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा न सर्वत्रावभासते बुद्धौ एवावभासेत स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत् सदा सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा न सर्वत्रावभासते बुद्धौ एवावभासेत स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत्. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. Though always all-pervading, Atman does not manifest everywhere. It manifests only in the intellect, buddhi, like a reflection in an immaculate surface. Atma is infinite and all-pervading. It is unmanifest. It becomes manifest in thoughts. Atman assumes an individuality when it functions through the medium of thoughts. Thoughts are to Atman what a reflecting medium is to the sun. Sunlight is all pervading. It falls everywhere, but the reflection of the sun rays takes place only in a reflecting surface. The reflecting media causes a distinct and separate reflection of the sun. Similarly, wherever there are thoughts, there is an individualization of one homogeneous, all-pervading Brahman, Atman. When a reflecting medium is covered with dust or when it is disturbed, the reflection is not clear. Similarly, when the intellect is veiled by ignorance or when the mind is agitated, the Atman expressing through the thoughts is agitated, distorted. When ignorance is removed and agitations are subdued, then in a perfectly serene and tranquil mind, Atman is recognized. Atman is said to be recognized objectively through the intellect. Its realization is an intimate, subjective experience. It is like seeing yourself in a mirror through the perception of the image. Through the perception of the image is though the perception of the image is extrovert, you realize that the image seen in you is your own self. When you withdraw your preoccupations with the external world and become introvert, you are fit for concentration and meditation. In the last stage of meditation, your mind chants the mantra. Your intellect, the discriminating faculty in you, observes the chant. At this stage, the function of discrimination is between the sound of the mantra and the silence that follows the sound. At the peak of concentrated meditation, the mind stops the chant. When the chant ends, the last thought is gone. With no thoughts, the mind is extinct. Also, with the elimination of the last thought, the last pair of sound and silence does not exist anymore for the discrimination to function. With the absence of a field for discrimination, the intellect loses its status. When what remains is the absolute silence, that is the Atman. Since the intellect is the last equipment which a man utilizes to come in contact with the Atman, it is rightly said that the Atman is recognizable only in the intellect, Buddhi, that it's immaculate. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. In this part of the satsang, we have been meditating on the verses of Ramanacentre written by Ganapati Muni, and they have been compiled in this format by Bhagavan Ramana himself, and these beautiful words are chanted in the presence of Ramaneshwara Mahalingam at Ramanashramam every day by the priests. And this beautiful set of verses are in the same tune of the Upadesa Saram of Bhagavan Ramana, and they start with a verse which says, "O Ramana, it is by your compassionate glance that all our work, all our sadhana gets success." Remembering that compassionate eyes, that grace which is ever present, we begin meditation on these verses. Prasarataadita shubhavilokitam ramanate sakrit phalatu me kritam Ramana janminam ai bhavan guru abhidashaya tava mahanuru Jagadaham para spurati me trayam sadabidam gira tava visamshayam Jagadaham para spurati me trayam sadabidam gira tava visamshayam Tvadupadeshato galati samvidha Mai niranyaya sadahamorbidha Tvadupadeshato galati samvida Mai niranyaya sadahamorbidha Na karuna guna ramana tava vidampate ramana Hridaya tejasa ramana sahaja vaivate ramana Karune gunavala ramana ninage odayane ramana Hridayadi ಹೊಳೆಯುವ ರಮಣ ಸಹಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪವೇ ರಮಣ ಹರಿಸು ನನ್ನೆಡೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಕರುಣೆ ನೋಟವ ರಮಣನೇ ಸುಕೃತವು ಫಲವ ಗಳಿಸಲಿ ರಮಣನೇ ಗುರು ಸಕಲ ಜೀವಕ್ಕೂ ಅಭೇದ ಅನಂತವು ನಿನ್ನ ಹೃದಯವು ಜಗಜೀವ ಪರ ಮುರಾಗಿ ಸ್ಫುರಿಸದೆ ಏಕಾತ್ಮವಾಗಿದೆ ತವ ನುಡಿ ನಿಸಂಶಯ ಜಗಜೀವ ಪರ ಮುರಾಗಿ ಸ್ಫುರಿಸದೆ ಏಕಾತ್ಮವಾಗಿದೆ ತವ ನುಡಿ ನಿಸಂಶಯ ತ್ವದುಪದೇಶದಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಅರಳಿತು ನನಗೂ ಸತ್ಯಕ್ಕೂ ಇರುವ ಭೇದ ಅಳಿಯಿತು. ತ್ವದುಪದೇಶದಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಅರಳಿತು. ನನಗೂ ಸತ್ಯಕ್ಕೂ ಇರುವ ಭೇದ ಅಳಿಯಿತು. Ganapati Muni says, talking about the glory of Ramana's teachings. Ramana's teaching is so direct and so simple. Ramana just says, the world, the individual and the God, they are not different. They are but one power, one Atma Shakti, which we see as different manifestations. There is a story in Mahabharata where Parikshit has been killed by a Brahmastram. Parikshit, who is still in the womb of his mother, he is been killed by the Brahmastram and he is dead. And he is born dead. And everybody is worried. If Parikshit is not there, who will continue the lineage? So they are all worried and they are all sad and they all pray to Shri Krishna. And Shri Krishna says, don't worry. Parikshit can be made to come alive if he is touched by a pure brahmachari. And when this is announced, is there any pure brahmachari here who can touch Parikshit and give him a new life? The great sages who are around, even they doubted their own brahmacharya and they all moved one step back. Brahmacharya is being celibate, being untouched by the sexual desires and love and lust. Even the great sages doubted themselves and moved away. But Krishna with a smile in his face, he told, if I am a brahmachari, then let my touch make Parikshit alive. And Krishna touched Parikshit and Parikshit came alive. And then we all know that how he ruled the Bharata. But how can Krishna, who is told to have been wedded to 16,000 gopikas, who has been wedded to Rukmini, Satyabhama and Subhadra, how can he be a celibate? Krishna explained that I do not see anybody as apart from me. I see that everybody is contained in me and I don't see anything. Ramana says, for a jnani, there is no others. So such is the state of the jnana where there is no other. The only thing which exists is one Atma Tattva, one Atma Vastu. Ramana says that alone is real. All the others are only illusion. And he gives the example of a dream. In a dream, you are there. And in the dream, you have the world with all its variety of things. There are people whom you like. There are people whom you do not like. There are things which you like. There are things which you do not like. Everything is there. And sometimes, even God appears in the dream. And he also bestows us all the blessing. So even God can appear in our dream. So where is this dream and the world in the dream? And where is this individual who is seeing everything happening in the dream? When we wake up, we realize that there was no dream outside. Where was the dream? Dream was within. And within us, this dream manifests. And in this manifestation, the world, the individual and the Supreme, they all are one and the same. They are all this one power within. And that power manifests itself as various forms. And Ramana says, don't get carried away with these various forms. It is just like how the white light passes through a prism, it becomes the 7 colors. Don't get caught up in these different colors and hues which are produced by the prism called the mind. Turn within turn within to that light, the source of that light within, which makes the mind also lit up and conscious. What is that power? Turn towards that power. Then you will attain that very same state of the Jnani, where one does not see any differences. One sees the one Atma Purul, one sees only the white light. And in the next verse, Ganapati Muni continues, O Ramana, by your Upadesha, undoubtedly I have understood one thing, that I and the truth that I am searching for are not different. It is what I am searching for, it is already attained. I am foolishly searching for the truth. I am thinking that truth is somewhere very, very far on the peak of Himalayas, or I am thinking it is under the Pacific Ocean or the Indian Ocean. But the truth is so near. By your Upadesha, I have understood that truth is ever present, and I am the one who is foolishly searching for it. Ramana, for this, he gives the example of the 10 fools. The 10 fools who are traveling from one place to another place. On their way, they had to cross a small river. And once they cross that river, one of the fools gets an idea. Hey, wait, we have crossed the river. Shouldn't we check whether all the 10 of us have crossed the river or not? And that fool started counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He found only 9 people. And he reported maybe the one person is missing. Maybe one person has got drowned in the river. And they are all worried, and they start counting each other, taking turns, and everybody count. They only find 9 people. And they are really, really worried, and they are disappointed. And some start praying to the river, oh river, please give back our friend. And some people start scolding the river, you bad river, you have eaten up our friend. So some people are scolding, some people are crying, and seeing these funny activities happening, a stranger, he comes and he asks, oh my dear friends, why are you all crying and why are you all worried? And they all report that when we started, we were 10 of us. And now when we have crossed the river, we find we are only 9 of us. But the stranger counts them and finds that there are all the 10 of them have safely crossed the river. Then he gives an idea. Okay, please everybody stand in a row and stretch your hands, and I will hit you with a cane. When I hit you with the cane, so that you don't come back again and I count you twice. So I will hit you with the cane and you count yourself. Let us see whether all the 10 of you are there or not. And all the fools stretch their hand, and that stranger starts beating one person after the another, and 1, 2, 3, they are counting themselves, and at the end, the 10th fool, the 10th man is found. And they are all joyous, and they all fall at the feet of the stranger and say, oh, thank you so much. You saved us. You brought back our friend back. And the stranger funnily thinks that 10th person who was missing was always there. Even when they were crying, that person was there. Even when they were searching, that person was there. And even when they have found it, that person who was ever present, they have got to realize his presence. Such is the presence of the Ekatma Vastu, which is ever there. Even when we think it is not there, and we believe that it's not there, and we are leading a life with all these ups and downs, still that power is ever there, shining every experience. Even when we think, okay, we should not get mesmerized with this world and get caught up in this illusion, and we should turn towards the self which is always there. When the search is happening, when the sadhana is happening also, that self is ever available. Even when the mind is still and the mind sinks back to its own source, the true source, the self, and realizes the self, then too the self is there. Bhagavan Ramana says the self is ever there. That is the greatest assurance that the Sadguru is giving. He is telling that what you are searching is already there. It is already attained. You are already liberated. What one needs to do is only to realize that truth. Such easy is the path. You are already there. You have already attained. You are already at the destination. You only have to realize that you are at the destination, and to realize that Guru is ever abiding within us. He is shining within us as the Guru, and he is, with his Mauna Upadesha, he is reminding us that you are that which you are searching for. You are that self. You are that truth that you are always. Turn back to that truth and realize that you are that Tattvam Asi. Understand this, says Bhagavan Ramana, silently shining within our heart and giving his Upadesha. And Ganapati Muni in this verse says, by your Upadesha, I have understood this truth, that the I and the truth I am searching for are not different, and this I have understood without any doubt. And we also pray Bhagavan Ramana to bless us with that clarity and that conviction that we are that truth and we are not separate from that truth. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We come to the concluding part of the satsang. We have the chanting of Arunachala Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh Srinivasan. This will be followed by the Ashtottara puja, which will be performed at Dileep Simhaji's altar, and the Ashtottara chanting will be done by Ujwal Jagadeesh and Uma and Ashwini. And we'll conclude with the Arati and the Arati song. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. மொட்டையடித்தென்னை வெட்ட வெளியில் நீ நட்டமாடின என் அருணாச்சலா, மோகம் தவிர்த்தும் உன் மோகம் அவைத்தும் என் மோகம் தீராயன் அருணாச்சலா. மௌனிய கற்போல் மலராதிருந்தால் மௌனமிதாமோ அருணாச்சலா, எவனின் வாயின் மண்ணினையட்டி என் பிழை பழித்த தருணாச்சலா. யாரும் அறியாதென் மதியினை மருட்டி எவர் கொள்ளை கொண்ட தருணாச்சலா, ரமணான் என்றுரைத்தேன் ரோஷம் கொள்ளாதெனை ரமித்திட செய்யவா அருணாச்சலா. ராப்பகலில்லா வெறுவெளி வீட்டில் ரமித்திடுவோம் வா அருணாச்சலா. லட்சியம் வைத்தருள் அஸ்திரம் விட்டெனை பக்ஷித்த பிராணனோடு அருணாச்சலா. லாப நிகிஹ பர லாபமில் என்னை உற்று லாபம் என்றுற்றன அருணாச்சலா. வரும்படி சொல்லில்லை வந்தென் படியள வருந்திடும் தலை விதி அருணாச்சலா. வாவென்றகம் புக்கும் வாழ்வருள் அன்று என் வாழ்விழுந்தேன் அருள் அருணாச்சலா. வீட்டிடில் கஷ்டமா விட்டிடாதுனை உயிர் விட்டிட அருள் புரிய அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி. அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி. நமோ ரமண.
भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामावली अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशेः यस्योर्मि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महोंशेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ अहौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्हितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतफप्पलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्रम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताकिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः।
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः ॐ विप्राय नमः ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः ॐ हृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः ॐ गुहाय नमः ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः ॐ देवतमाय नमः ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः ॐ सेनान्ये नमः ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः
ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। रमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाह विवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡು ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।